I mean, the first year, it was pretty good. Although, again, the numbers that he was seeing, I mean, I don't know where the patients went. My staff said, hey, they're all here. And I'm like, well, we're not doing even a quarter of what he was doing. So it was rough. We didn't.
Interesting.
We had to scrap out of the basement, right? What I made my first year is not even half of what I pay a new associate who works for me now. So yeah, it was tough. We were broke and we were trying to make ends meet. I bought it with a partner and we went in 50-50. It was a crazy deal. He was in residency while I was starting the practice for the first year, even though we were partners. So it was, and the hardest part was we had a satellite practice that we had purchased as part of it. And I bought a plane 3 weeks after I bought my practice. So I was almost $1 million in the hole right out of it. So that's a lot of money I mean, back then it was a lot and it's still a lot. So that was a big deal. We were working really hard to make sure we could even just pay the debt.
Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World of Marketing, where I talk with industry leaders about marketing, mindset, and business growth. This episode is brought to you by Foster Web Marketing. Foster Web Marketing provides cutting-edge, highly customizable websites, marketing, video, and strategic solutions designed explicitly for podiatry practices. DSS, our award-winning software suite that powers our website, sets us apart. Please visit our website at fosterwebmarketing.com if you want to know more. But today, our guest is Nathan Ivey. Dr. Ivey was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest and comes from a family of 10. He graduated with a degree in biology from Brigham Young University. He got his podiatry degree from California College of Podiatric Medicine in 1999. Looking for sunshine brought Dr. Ivey and his family to New Mexico for training at the VA Hospital and Lovelace Hospital. He has specialty training in rearfoot and ankle reconstruction and became interested in podiatric sports medicine during his third year of residency. He is adept at using orthotics to control various foot problems that would have otherwise required surgery. He founded New Mexico Foot and Ankle Institute and takes pride in making it the premier foot and ankle care location. He is also a great client of ours with the website with FWM. And welcome, Dr. Ivey.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming. I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for squeezing this in.
Yeah, busy season, right? Christmas time. So
is everybody coming in to get their feet taken care of before Christmas?
Yeah, we're as busy as ever. December's a heavy month for us for surgery.
Really?
Yeah, interesting.
Well, people want to get it taken care of.
Yeah, I think people have time off, and so they can disappear from work for a week and nobody knows or cares. So I think it's just easier for them. Plus, you got all the teachers, right, that have time off and want to do it while they're off. So
that's a good point.
Busiest month of the year for surgery for us most of the time.
That's a great way to. Is your year January to December?
Yeah.
So that's a great way to end the year.
Right, on a strong note. That's how we like it.
Now, are those cash paying patients?
No, surgery patients are all
insurance based.
Insurance, yeah.
And these are people that couldn't be helped with laser and all that. These are
these are people that just have I'm doing a lot of bunions right now is kind of my big focus, and so these are problems that just can't be fixed with anything other than getting in there and moving the bone. So,
well, I wanted to congratulate you on your fantastic success because you've, created this practice from nothing, right?
Yeah.
And now two offices?
2 offices right now. Yeah, we probably peaked at 3 offices and then consolidated back down to 2.
Well, it's not easy being a doctor, running a business, dealing with staff, finances, and marketing. So what is your secret to that?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a secret, right? I think it's always a work in progress, and it has changed over the years. I would tell you right now, our secret really is is the organization and how we've organized the way the company runs. And we have a fairly good, well, I have an excellent executive team that's really running the practice to the point now where they could run it without me.
Don't you use EOS in your practice?
Yeah, and over the last 4 or 5 years, that really has been the key for my stress level going way, way, way down, right? Knowing that organization as well. And obviously one of the focuses of EOS has always been that, right? Can you go on vacation and know that company will run fine and that you do not have to check in? I do not have to take care of things, right? And I can completely unplug. And that is the magic. And it has worked really, really well. The accountability, knowing who's in charge of what. And so it has changed a little bit as we had doctors come and go over the last couple of years. I've had to plug more into clinic at times, and then there was times where I could plug more into the business end of things. And so it's nice that it is structured in such a way that we've been able to kind of move with those changes, and it hasn't affected us negatively at all.
Right. Like before, right? Before it would be like a giant panic. Oh my God, what do we do? You know, but now because you're organized, I mean, like I agree with you 100%. I think we're on our 4th year with it of running my company with EOS. It's been fantastic. You're right. Personally, I can take any time off I want. I'm really just the founder and the owner now.
Right.
And that's what EOS let me be. You know, I'm the visionary.
Right.
Buster's the integrator and loves EOS because that's his thing, man. You know, the process and the organization.
Right. Good integrator. That's key, right?
That is the key, right?
It is. You got to have that visionary. Yeah, I'm the visionary. And I have a really good integrator that really makes, like you said, all the difference in the world, that can focus on making sure that the vision is being implemented and that all the little pieces that have to go together to make that work are happening, right? So yeah, it works.
Who's your integrator?
Karen Perez is my chief operating officer, and she's my integrator, and we work very well together.
Do you have an EOS coach that you work with?
We don't. We started that way.
Oh, right. You've done it on your own the whole time?
No, we had a coach, right, for probably just a year, and then we kind of took it on our own and didn't really feel like we needed that element. We probably do, but when you don't know that you do, then it's easy to think that you don't, right? So
yeah, we did the same thing. We had a great coach, in I think the first 2 years, and then we've been on our own. Well, maybe, yeah, this year we've been on our own, and it's been okay. But you're right. You don't know what you don't know. Right. He always brought something cool to the table. I miss meeting with him.
Yeah, and we didn't. Our coach was okay, and so he was new. He was just starting. I think we were like his first or second client.
Oh wow!
And so we've kind of felt like, well, we can do this, and we kind of move forward, and we continue to use it. And we look at the conferences, and we've done some webinars, and so yeah, we just haven't felt like we needed to go back to that coach. So.
Well, I'm glad that it has helped you, and it's good to have a fellow EOS
traction.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. So running the business, tell us a little bit about how you got started. Like what made you think, I'm going to go start my own practice? I think that's a great idea. What made you do that, and what was your inspiration?
I don't know that I ever thought that there was any other option, right?
Oh, wow.
And of course, 20 plus years ago, almost everybody was in private practice, right? There weren't a lot of hospital jobs. A lot of the things that the guys are doing now, I don't even know that it would have been hard to find that type of a job. So I knew I was going to private practice, but I loved business right out of the gate, right? I knew I wanted to be an owner right. And even the jobs I was looking at it was very specific that they had to offer me a partnership track. But I had a doctor here in Albuquerque where I was training who was moving to Las Vegas, and he had a really phenomenal practice and was really good. And so when that opportunity arose for me to purchase that practice, I jumped on it, and we moved forward from there.
Wow, good for you. How old were you?
Oh, let's see. If that was 21 years ago, I was 30.
Wow, that's pretty young for thinking like that. Good job.
Yeah, I think part of it's just
wiring. Older version of Nathan thanks the young version of Nathan for not,
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm a visionary now because of EOS, but I will tell you, I didn't think that I was a visionary in that term back then, right? I thought, oh, I'm an integrator. I like the details. I like the business end of it. I like how it goes together. So when I found out I was a visionary, I'm like, oh, I guess I was. And then as I look back, absolutely was, but
well, you want to get involved. It's important to you. Like, that's the same true of me. I'm still kind of involved in some of the details, and interested, but I'm only interested to a certain point. Right. And then I'm like, you people handle that, it's too much.
Yeah. That's for the accountants and the lawyers. And I don't want to.
Right. Exactly.
30,000 foot view, but no, I was obviously, always have been, and always will be really, really passionate about patient care and customer service and how to be the best at what we do. So it makes it easier. The business end of that is just a natural extension, right? You have to have that control. You have to be an owner to be that passionate. If they put me to work for someone else right now, they'd fire me, right? I'm way too passionate, right? There's no way they'd let me work in a system.
Because you'd want to take control and do it your own way, right?
Yeah, and I'd be like, no, we have to fix this. You can't treat people like this. This is not going to work, right? So,
right. So, did you have a mentor or a path that you took to get your business under control? Like in those early days, did you have a guide or?
I didn't, right? I wish I did. And I looked for that, and we have a good community. Albuquerque's nice, and the podiatrists are all good to one another here. But business wise, no, I really didn't. I very early on in the game, discovered American Association of Podiatric Practice Management, right? AAPPM was really, that was it for me. That was my mentors, right? It was John Juliana, Rem Jackson, Hal Ornstein, right? Right out of, I think within 2 years, I was doing that and always went back. And that's always been that's where we learned how to do cash pay. That's where we learned the business model. I learned all of that at AAPPM. So that was really where I picked all that stuff up. So, I mean, once a year mentoring is about what I was getting, right? I didn't reach out very much.
But were you in AAPPM back when you were 30 and you
32, 33?
Oh, okay.
I mean, in the very beginning. Yeah, no, right. It was most of my career. I was in AAPPM.
Did you have a family back then?
I did. I had 4 kids. And
how many kids do you have?
I have 4 kids.
Okay.
They're all adults now, but
oh wow!
But back then, yeah, they were.
So where did you move from the Pacific Northwest? Now, where in the Pacific Northwest?
I grew up. Well, my wife and I both graduated from high school in Longview, Washington, which is about 30 miles north of Vancouver, Washington, 40 miles north of Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
So yeah.
So were you 30 when you guys made this move?
We were, well, I was 27 when I came out here for residency training. We flew out to New Mexico, and I thought, wow, this is the ugliest place I've ever been in my life. That's a true statement. I remember flying in thinking this is where they probably tested that nuclear bomb, right? Before World War II. This must be what's left of that. This is the bomb site, because there's nothing here. And we lived on the Columbia River, right? I learned to water ski on a river, and we came here, and they're like, this is the Rio Grande, right? There's a river running through Albuquerque, and I'm like, we call this a creek. This is just a tiny little, you can drive across it with a big truck. This is not a river. So yeah, it was a whole new experience to come to it's a high desert. Albuquerque's high desert. We're at 5,000 feet. So it's a completely different environment. So
Did you choose that I'm gonna open a podiatry practice here in Albuquerque or in New Mexico?
No, no. My wife loved it, right? She was sick of the Pacific Northwest, right? It just, the sun never comes out. It's not about the
Right,
rain, it's
right.
about the sun. And so she was done. When we had an opportunity to come here for training, she's like, go, right? Because I had already taken another job in Tacoma, Washington, and I was going to stay. And I wanted to practice in Portland. And so she's like, no. So wife speaks, husbands listen.
Interesting. Yeah,
She
happy.
said, and it was a
Happy life
better,
is a happy life.
yeah, exactly. And I certainly have always ascribed to that. And we knew it was a better training opportunity. So, I mean, it was an easy fix for me because I'm like, oh, this is a 3-year residency. Those were just getting started at that time. So I knew it was a better opportunity for me. So we took that. We came out here after 2.5 years. I was looking for a practice somewhere outside of New Mexico. But when this opportunity opened up for me to buy this practice here, it was right on so many levels that we decided this is where we were to be. So it's home now. So
Was this practice was already running for many, many
yeah,
years?
it was already run. It was a 20-year-old practice, probably the best practice in town. As far as referral base was concerned, as far as the patients that were coming here. And so it really fit all of my criteria. It was a good community to practice in. New Mexico has a full scope license, so I could do whatever I wanted to do, however I wanted to do it. And so there was really no downsides to staying here other than there was not enough trees and not enough green grass for me. But other than that, it was perfect. So,
well, it's a great deal to step into a business that's already flourishing, already getting referrals. Was there any, I'm sure there were, but can you describe any kind of like obstacles that you faced at taking over the practice that wasn't like doing things the way you liked it? Did you have to get rid of people? Did you have to do any of that kind of stuff?
eventually, yeah. I mean, the first year it was pretty good. Although, again, the numbers that he was seeing, I mean, I don't know where the patients went. My staff said, "Hey, they're all here," and I'm like, "Well, we're not doing even a quarter of what he was doing." So it was rough. We didn't.
Interesting.
We had to scrap out of the basement, right? What I made my first year is not even half of what I pay a new associate who works for me now. So yeah, it was tough. We were broke and we were trying to make ends meet. I bought it with a partner and we went in 50-50. It was a crazy deal. He was in residency while I was starting the practice for the first year, even though we were partners. So it was, and the hardest part was we had a satellite practice that we had purchased as part of it. And I bought a plane 3 weeks after I bought my practice. So I was almost $1 million in the hole right out of it. And I'm cheap. So that's a lot of money I mean, back then it was a lot and it's still a lot. So
Yeah.
that was a big deal. We were working really hard to make sure we could even just pay the debt, right? The loan on the practice,
Sure.
the loan on the plane. We had problems with that plane from day one. It's a little
You
scary.
got a plane story. I got a boat story. I did a
Yeah.
very similar thing buying a big boat. Oh my God, it cost me a fortune.
Yeah, it's a money pit, right? Money just keeps going into it, but that portion of the practice, 2 days a week, we would fly down to this little oil town in southern New Mexico, and it was literally funding the practice. The other 4 days, I'm up in Albuquerque in this beautiful practice, and that little satellite practice down there, 1.5 days a week, was funding my practice. And
Wow.
it was worth it to go down there. The contracts were super good. They paid for everything. They paid really well. And so we kept that because it was worth it. And within a year, we couldn't keep doing as much as we were doing. It was growing. And so we hired a doctor down in Roswell and Artesia and hired a second doctor. And then the hospital came in and bought almost every private practice in town because they were building a surgery center and they didn't want it to succeed. So I get a call one day from my associate, and this is a 3-hour drive. And he says, "Hey, the hospital offered me a job, and I told them that they had to take all the staff too. So they offered jobs to all the staff, and next week. And they also agreed to take the lease as well for the building. And I had to explain to my associate, right, that this was not his practice or his employees or his lease. And so, 2 days later, we drove down there and took over the practice from him and locked him out. And so we had all kinds of problems. 6 months later, we crash landed that airplane on a runway and couldn't fly anymore. So now we were driving 3 hours back and forth. And so that was a big deal. And then that got into a big legal battle on whose fault it was that plane had some problems and couldn't sell
between you and your partner.
No, between the airport. Yeah, they sued me because they didn't want to get in trouble for it. So he was smart. Yeah, and that was my first lawsuit. And I'm like, I don't understand what happened. You fixed the plane and we crashed because of it. And you're suing me? I'm confused, right? I'm still confused 20 years later, right? I mean, it was just a smart move on his part because once you're on defense, it's really hard to get on the other side of that. So
interesting.
Yeah, it was a year and a half that hit hard. We had some really, really hard times. I mean, I had to put a second mortgage on the house, and we could to pay the lawyers to fight this, and it was a hard. Yeah, no, I mean, you name it.
Wow, I never knew that. See, that is a story of resilience, though. Like,
yeah, right.
Like life throws these challenges at you, these obstacles, and great job. It's a testament to you that you rose above that and you were able to get past all that and get to where you are now.
Yeah. I swear, right, that success many times has more to do with not quitting than about any magical success stories that we have, right? That any magical things that I figured out, I just kept going, right? You just keep going. And you're right. My current mentor always tells me, right, there's at least 1 or 2 stink bombs every year that are going to get in your way. And you just have to rise above.
One of my great friends, and he's my biggest client, Jason Abraham. He's a personal injury. He owns a personal injury firm that has 11 offices in 3 states.
Oh, gosh.
And I mean, he's a $1 billion firm. So he's but he says, and I quote, you got to fail 50% of the time to succeed. And he's, he's blown a bunch, he's made a lot of money, but he's blown a lot of money to make a lot of money. And that's what you got to do. You got to do.
No. And certainly over the years, right, one of the most important lessons we all learn, the successful ones, I think, is that you have to at some point accept that failure is part of the growth process, and that you have to look at it as an opportunity, not as a bad thing, right? It has to become a positive thing, not a negative thing. And I think that failure rate's higher than 50%. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
You talk to guys like Elon Musk and some of those big guys, and they'll tell you, right, that they've lost more money than made over the years. And so there's
totally.
Yeah.
He's constantly in some fight with somebody.
Yeah, seriously, something. Right? Look at how much money he lost on Twitter. Yeah, so
I know.
Unbelievable amounts of money, right? And you're like, oh, that wasn't a very smart move. So
you went from like this, revered figure by everybody to like hated by half the population.
Right.
Amazing. All right.
Choose the wrong side. Yep.
So, you came to us back in 2022, January 2022 was about the time. And I think that, didn't you were working with Rem Jackson, getting coached with Rem Jackson? Yeah. And where were you before us?
Do it yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have.
You were doing that too?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I know it. Yeah, exactly. We had a lot of crazy things that we did over the years. Right. And I had some brothers that were, I had 4 brothers and 2 of them are programmers. And so, right, I built my first server. I was big into computers back in the day. And so as you get more successful, obviously you let that stuff go more and more and more. So we had built I had built a website long before anyone in town had a website, right? So we started early on with good marketing, and I had a full-time marketer, and probably the only one in New Mexico. There was maybe two of us in New Mexico that had, full-time marketers working for our practices. So I had a full-time marketer. We did at that point, it was my sister made that website, and then I hired someone in town to maintain the website, right? Just a local person. And she did a pretty good job, but obviously the playing field has changed significantly, right, over the years. And so, by 2022, we knew before that, and my marketer, we kept pushing her to do different things. And we kind of came to that realization that she was really good at shoe leather marketing and the social media and other stuff. She was doing some stuff on Facebook, and we appreciate what she did. But at the end of the day, we knew we needed to take it to the next level, right? And I'm like, we've got to scale this. This is not going to work. And at that point, we realized, right, we want to go with the best, right? And we were done kind of screwing around. And I had, like you said, I had started at the very bottom as far as quality was concerned, and it was time. It was really time to kind of go with something that we knew we could scale, and that we knew would take us, to the very top, and that we would never have to change again. So obviously we chose Foster because we knew that's where quality was going to come from. And so we made some choices, and I'm cheap. And so it's hard for us ever to go for the best, right? Because you gotta pay more than what you're paying some lady down the street. But it was the best choice we could have made marketing wise, at that time. It was by far, right? We knew we were moving in, and we were going into COVID after that too, right? And so it was a good time for us to move away from the focus on shoe leather marketing to the online marketing. And It's made all the difference for us, obviously.
And so when you first started, you worked with Jessica as your coach, right?
I don't think Jessica got involved with us until right after we had finished the build, right? I worked with Chad for getting that build done, right? And that took however many months it took to kind of swap the website from our platform to your platform. And that's when we realized, right, we switched the platforms, and I'm like, well, that didn't do what I thought it was going to do at all. I was hoping, right, that just changing the website, and certainly it did, but it wasn't what I knew had to happen, right? I knew what had to happen was, the content needed to be better. The links had to exist, right? There was so much that we knew was not present on my current website, and we kind of just took that over to Foster. And then but it was the platform, right? It's all about the platform. And so I didn't understand that as I went through, and as I kind of finally figured it out. And that's when we kind of decided, there's so much more work that needs to be done, right? This just opened the door is all it did, and put us on the perfect platform to grow. But now we've actually got to grow. And so then the question was, how are we going to do this? Because again, I was working too much to do this and didn't have any desire to do this, right? And so I knew at that point we needed some major help. And so we reached out and hired a number of people. But obviously the best one by far out of the list of things that we did was, getting Jessica involved and having her start coaching us. And that's unbelievable, right? What that did, what we'd been looking for the last 3 or 4 years, right? That took our leads up. That took everything went up from there, right? All of the web traffic, we got up to #1 on the search sites. Podiatrist near me just got up to #1 today. I just talked to her. So, I mean, everything, that we needed was what she was able to do, right? That coaching made all the difference, right? And having somebody who could help us make that happen. It helped me to be what I am, right? I'm a visionary, and I can say, okay, this is what I can identify what's going on, and I can say, this is what we need to do. I needed an integrator, and that's what Jessica is.
Well, and also you had the smarts to delegate that out, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like me doing my own foot surgery. I wouldn't have the foggiest idea about that.
I looked it up on YouTube. Yeah, you can't do it.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's how I think about, and you're right. It has changed dramatically over the years than 25 years ago when we were first building websites. And it was really, just having a website out there was all you needed to do, you know, and put some content and some links.
It takes so much now, to make it work, right? I'm like, we got a good website and it's nothing compared to what it needs to be when we were looking at it in 2022, right? Or 2021, it was just not there at all. So we knew we had to make some internal changes. And I'm like, I know what I need to do because I've sat through the lectures with you and Rem. And I'm like, and I know I am not Andrew Schneider, nor do I have any desire to be anything like Andrew Schneider, right? And I love him to death and bless his heart for his love of that. But that's not where I'm at.
He loves doing it. He loves doing it.
I absolutely need to pay to have an expert do what they do best, right? So it was a good choice.
So you made a considerable investment in your own marketing here in the website. And that was a big investment that you've made.
Yeah.
And do you feel that because a lot of doctors look at that as an expense, like that they just spent that money and they're not getting it back. But have you seen, you said you've gotten more patients, more leads. Do you have any I've gotten this many more leads as a result of it? Do you have any data points on that yet?
Yeah. And I don't have all of them off the top of my head, but yeah, no, we're up 30% at least over the last year. I mean, that's not even that's this year. That's not last year. That's this year. And we're talking thousands of hits on the website over what it was last year. Thousands of hits, and thousands of leads, right? We're getting a dozen patients a week. I'm down 2 doctors right now. I'm at 5 and we need to be at 7. And we've been trying to hire for a year and a half. And we can't handle the volume. I'm like, I want to be successful, but I'm not sure how to handle this. Because we're so busy right now. It's working so well. Between just a couple of tweaks, we wanted to see a few more ingrown toenails because that was a great moneymaker for us. And we wanted to see more Shockwave because that's a cash pay thing that I've been doing for 20 years and love. And they're just coming out of the woodwork. And that's all directly from the website. And honestly, right, when we switched to Foster, we lost our marketer and we have not replaced that full-time marketing person, right? So yeah, I freaked out because I'm like, this has got to be good, right? Because we're not doing some of the things that we should be doing, that we have been doing for the last 10 years. Of course, the market's changed, right? We don't get as many referrals directly from our primary care doctors because now they all work for the hospital and they all keep them internal. So we've lost a lot of those referral patterns, but we have more than made up for all of those referral patterns online with that website, right? And so for me, that's where it's real. It's like, listen, we lost half of our marketing machine, yet we have more patients now than we've ever had. So yeah, those are my data points, right? Do I go to clinic every day and have a full clinic? Yeah, I do. And are we just getting more new patients, right? We had to put new protocols in place, new processes in place to process all of the new referrals coming off of the website every week to make sure that they were getting captured immediately.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy that the marketing has worked out for you. But before you got here, I always like to ask the question, what was your biggest mistake?
Oh, they all kind of rank together, Tom.
Well, you've already told us a lot, but I mean, I wouldn't look at them like mistakes because they seem to have worked out. When you first told me about that plane, I was like, "What's he doing buying a plane?" But then I didn't feel like I had a choice at that point, right? That's the way the practice was running, and that's the way the practice was going to keep running. That was the only way to get down there, right? Without spending an extra 6 to 8 hours a week that we didn't have after hours. Sure.
So, it just made it easy, right? It was an hour flight, and we could get in and out of there in a single day. But
Who was the pilot?
oh, he was a friend of the prior owner, and he volunteered to fly us for free. He was retired. And he liked getting out. It was a small hospital in Artesia. They had this beautiful doctor's lounge, and they had food, and he would take his bills and he would take his stuff, and he'd go in there and he'd watch TV. They had a big recliner, and he would hang out all day while we saw patients and did surgery. So he loved it. He loved to fly, right? These pilots love to fly. So getting the hours is cool for them. And so he got to fly twice a week. He loved it. And so he did it mostly out of the kindness of his heart. And
Wow.
obviously, I saw him last week and gave him a big hug. He's family to me, right? He saved my life on a number of occasions. Flying over the mountains at night in a single engine airplane is really not the wisest choice. And so
Yeah, it's scary.
we had gotten to the point where we decided that we had to make some changes. We either had to upgrade and spend more money on a better plane or stop flying. And that's when we started hiring associates. So
What kind of plane was it? 172?
it was a 210. It was a pressurized 210. It was a pig. So she was a big, heavy pig, and we didn't have any ice material. So, if we got into bad weather, we just didn't fly. But
Wow.
fun. New Mexico has thunderstorms all during the summer, so we would fly around the thunderstorms. And yeah, there were mornings where we couldn't get into the airport because it was fogged in, and we'd have to fly an approach. And we did some crazy stuff. Yeah.
I bet you every one was an adventure. Like,
Yeah,
you never
it was
know
an
what to
adventure.
expect. Wow.
But certainly never looked at that as a mistake, right? I don't look at, I have had so many learning experiences, right, that I look at and say, man, I learned a lot from that. I would tell you, if I had to be, and this is because of the way that I'm wired, I fear I do not reach out well, and I did not look to people who would have helped me on this path, right? There were people I could have called anytime and would have helped me to make less mistakes. And so my biggest mistake over 20 years is not reaching out, right?
Now, is that due to stubbornness or just like
anxiety? It's just anxiety. Yeah, I just feel like he doesn't want to talk to me. Low self-esteem. I don't know what my wife could probably tell me exactly what it is, but
you don't have that problem anymore.
Oh, I still do. Absolutely. Do not like getting on the phone. And people don't understand social anxiety, right? They don't understand the amount of energy that it takes to get here, because I can do it well, right? I can get on, I can make a video, I can have conversations, I can speak publicly, and I can do a pretty good job of it. But it takes everything I have to get to that point, right? Yeah, people just don't understand that you throw up before you give the presentation. They just don't. They're like, well, you're so good at it. Why would you be nervous? You're a natural. And I'm like, well, that doesn't matter, right? And so I think over the years, I just felt like, well, I'm sure he probably wouldn't mind talking to me, but Rem's busy, right? He's got hundreds of clients. He's not gonna. He doesn't want to help me. And so I just convinced myself of that over the years, and that was a dumb thing to do, right? I could have helped more people, done better, hired more staff, grown bigger earlier in the game if I told you that in the beginning, right? I didn't have a mentor. I would go to the meetings, I would listen, I would implement, but I never, guys like Cal Ornstein, he would have given me the shirt off his back, and I should have called him a few times, and I didn't, right? When I had problems, I should have reached out, and I did it myself. And I'm sure there's some stubbornness, but I'm not naturally that stubborn. I think it's just anxiety.
Social anxiety.
Yeah, it was scared to reach out. Yeah.
You'd be surprised that I have it too. Like I'm like you. Like that surprised me that you said that about you, because every time I've talked to you, you've been very personable and very open. But I know what you mean about it sucking the energy out of you. Like I have to go have alone time.
Right.
If I'm around people too much, it's fun. I crave it. But at the same time, I'm like, I got to get away from it.
Yeah, no, we know we can't live without it.
Yeah.
But we know the energy it takes to go there, right? It's that introvert, right? It's partly my introvert that says, "Oh man, I don't know." So I've always just been scared. I'm scared to call patients and say, "Hey, listen, I need to tell you something." I'd always have my staff, my girls would call. You call them. I can't. So I go talking to a patient's spouse after I finish surgery on them, right? It's just like that's protocol, right? You got to go tell them it went good. That would kill me. Right. That's the hardest part of surgery is having to go talk to the family after I do surgery on the spouse or the kid or whoever. Right. So part of that. But, I've learned, right, that it doesn't matter. We learn to do hard things, and that's something that's hard for me, but it's something that I can't live without. Right. So having people like Rem Jackson in my life, right, makes all the difference now that I have somebody I can reach out to and it calms down the storm when it happens, right? Because you can talk it through and go, okay, I'm going to be okay. This is fine. You don't have to kind of ride that up and down as much.
It's okay. So you mentioned Rem Jackson. Obviously, Rem is one of my dearest friends, and I've known him for 20 plus years. And, he's one of the most impressive guys for what he's accomplished and just his brilliant marketing mind. But he says wonderful things about you. And he always did, like when he first told us that you might be like, you got to take care of Nick, you got to take care of my guy. and I say that to you because I think that a lot of people are looking out for you,
Yeah, no, they are.
Yeah. And, you mentioned Peter Wishney. He's another great guy.
Yeah.
All the AAPPM guys they all look out for each other. It's a great organization to be a part of. So that's my next question. Who are some of your mentors? You told me that. And what's the best piece of advice? Well, let's reach out to them, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Use the people out there. There are people like me. I love giving back, right? I love when I'm like, why would I think that other people were different than me, right? I love it when someone calls and says, hey, I've got a problem. I'm always happy to give advice, right? I love giving back. And so I would never say no to someone who called and said, hey, could you talk me through this? I would be flattered and grateful for that opportunity.
Did everybody hear that? So yeah. Give Nathan a call.
Always available. Yeah.
Because, no matter what you're going through, everybody goes through crap. Everybody goes through this stuff in their life, no matter what business you're in. And sometimes you just need to reach out to somebody that's been through the minefield before to make you feel better about it and help you get through it.
Right.
That's really what it's all about. So, what are some of your daily rituals that keep you going? Do you have any?
Yeah, I'm pretty much consistency. I like to start really early, and every morning I spend some time with myself, and I do a little bit of reading first thing in the morning, some stuff that I read that will keep me in tune with the universe, and so I am very much I have a very deep faith, and I'm a devout Christian, and I use that. I pray, and I think that's a good way to get in contact, because I always like to focus on the things that I'm grateful for, right? And I think that puts your mindset where it needs to be first thing in the morning, right? If you're not moving forward, grateful for your day, and if you don't realize all the good things, because there are plenty of things that go wrong. Medicine is highly regulated and messed up on so many levels that, if there's not some frustration out there, you're not paying attention. And so starting the day in a way that I'm grateful for who I am and what I have and what I've been given is always, I think, the most important thing that I think I do every day. And I never let that go. Right. I mean, that's I think the most important thing I do every day. And then it's the rituals that we do as far as communication, I think is key. How we communicate in the practice, how the relationships I have. And that's why EOS has been so important to me, because the ritual of having that meeting every week rain or shine, right? No matter what, and just getting that communication
It's the structure.
going. Yeah, it's the structure, right?
Like,
and you can
I'm
always
with you.
work.
I crave structure.
I do too. So I think that those are kind of the things. And then for me, obviously, my family is everything, and that keeps me grounded, right? As much as we are successful business people and get stuck in this world of trying to chase the almighty dollar, going home and spending time with my kids. I have 3 adult kids living at home still, so we have a very, very interesting conversations at my house on a regular basis. And so it's always important to me to have time with my family whenever possible. And I think that's always kind of keeps us grounded. Those relationships, and the older I get, right, the more important all of my relationships become. And I try and cherish those to the best of my ability. And that's, I think, what always keep me grounded, because you think, you know what, no matter what happens today in business, I have my family, I have my kids, right? I have my friends and my mentors and coaches, and these relationships are everything to me, and everything else can go, and I will still be happy having these people in my life. So, any
of the kids going to go into the practice?
Oh, I had one get tempting for me. He said he was going to be a podiatrist, and he made it about 1.5 years in college before he dropped out and said he was done. So I got close, but no podiatrist at all. My youngest daughter is now working on a paramedics program, and so she's at least in medicine. All 4 of my children worked in my office for at least 1 year as a medical assistant, so all of them have seen what I do on a regular basis, the good, the bad, and some of the very ugly, smelly stuff that we see in the feet. So I think that may have been counterproductive for me getting them to be podiatrists, because I think it's not too much, and they're like, I'm not doing this.
They have PTSD from that. Right? Well, Nathan, it's been a wonderful pleasure talking to you and hearing more about your story. It's fascinating, and I'm like, so proud of your success, and so proud that you are a client of ours, and, love to have more clients like you. Yeah. That's for sure.
Well, thank you, Tom. That's very kind, and I appreciate that. And part of the reason we came to Foster Web Marketing obviously was because of how highly Rem spoke of you. And I had heard you speak many times before then at top practices and other events. So, knowing that relationship, that was important to me, right? As we get into business, it's the relationships that are so important, which is what I was just talking about. And for me, we go a long way with that type of a thing. And so it was an easy choice. Luckily, right, it wasn't just the relationship. You guys are just really the best at what you do. But that relationship is what pulled me to where I'm at. So I appreciate it. And I appreciate getting the chance to talk to you today. It was fun. So thank you.
I appreciate you jumping on this podcast with me. Always. Okay, everybody. So if you want to check out Dr. Ivey's website, it's NM as in New Mexico, footandAnkle.com. You can check it out.
Yeah.
And if you would like to call him, may I give him your phone number?
Yeah, please.
It's 505-880-1000. You can remember that.
Yeah, easy.
Yep. So give him a call if you have questions about this podcast or about his practice or about him. Fascinating guy. Well, Nathan, wonderful. You have a wonderful holiday with your family.
Yeah. Thank you. You too.
I appreciate talking to you.